Well, that was f***ing dreadful. Hey there guys, and welcome to FP1, and let's sit down and talk about the Spanish Grand Prix, round 6 of the season. Well, I say talk about it. We can try and talk about it because, I mean, let's be honest, what actually happened there? So, Lewis Hamilton taking the win from Max Verstappen with Valtteri Bottas in third. The top three finishing a minute ahead of everybody else and lapping everyone up to, I think, about P4, which just shows so much about this year in Formula 1. I mean, Spain, let's be honest, it's not a great track for overtaking. We know that already, and we know it's not a great track for racing whatsoever. I think Crofty put it best, you know. We saw quite a lot of defensive driving this weekend, and that's literally all it was. There was a few overtakes here and there, but really not much to talk about on a racing front, which makes these videos very, very difficult to do. Now, first, we did see a little bit of action. You know, Alex Albon, another good race from him. I really feel for Alex. I think, you know, Red Bull used him as a test mule for Verstappen, and I guess you could say that worked. Verstappen got ahead of one of the Mercedes. You could also say that was helped by Bottas' really poor start. He just did not get off the line today. Got swamped by the Racing Points, or the 2019 Mercedes, whatever you want to put it. You know, I think I tweeted out at the start of the race, you know, Bottas is getting beaten by the car he drove last year, and it wasn't a great start for him today. Bottas just didn't really seem to have any sort of pace, really, especially compared to Hamilton, that was on a completely another level. Can't speak today. Nice one, Will. But yeah, I really don't. Bottas, man. I've said this before, but I feel like when Bottas gets his contracts, he just falls off the pace. Like he's almost like the opposite of what Massa did, in that when Massa got his contract, he'd do really well, and he was quite poor before that. But Bottas, you know, he gets his contract, he does really well, you know, he's eating all that porridge until he has his contract, and then he just kind of slacks off, and we saw that again today. Like, just, mate, where were you? But yeah, anyway, I went on a bit of a tangent there. Alex Albon pulled some great moves, you know, round the outside of a few cars, you know, turn 3, turn 4. I think he said he was a little bit angry with the move on Sainz, because I think he was moving on the outside of Sainz, and Sainz kind of stepped out the rear a little bit. But for me, that was fine, you know, there was no issues there, nothing to really complain about. You just got to feel for him, because, you know, had he been given the more optimal strategy, P6 on the cars with Perez's penalty, perhaps P5 as well, but he was kind of pitted early to see how the new tyres would do when they put them onto Verstappen's car, and that meant he was chucked back into traffic. And, you know, especially on a track like Spain where you cannot overtake, you know, what do you expect from Alex in that case? You know, it's a tricky one. Alex is very good at overtaking, we've seen that already, but around Spain, it's going to be difficult for everybody. Another team to talk about is Ferrari. They had a very mixed weekend, that's for sure. You know, Sebastian Vettel, P7, driver of the day. Glad to see that, for sure. I think definitely deserves it. You know, he's been dealing with so much shit from the Ferrari team over the last few weeks. Silent throughout all the qualifying. Had another go at them in the race. You could really see, you know, Sebastian is trying his best not to say a bad word about Ferrari. And you've really got to admire him for that one, because Ferrari have treated him like absolute dog shit this year, and it's really sad to see, given the driver of, you know, Sebastian's caliber as well. The fact that, yes, okay, look, he's made mistakes as well. Let's not beat around the bush here, but at the same time, some of those mistakes and some of the misfortune he's had has been down to Ferrari, and especially the strategy team. Like, what is going on there? But yeah, P7 for Seb, P20 for Leclerc, the only retiree from the race. It was a really weird incident, actually. His entire car just seemed to shut off coming around the final chicane. And yeah, just spun it, got back on track, but it was immediate, like, yeah, okay, we've got a problem here, guys, I'm going to have to pit. And yeah, what can you say for Charles? I mean, he was doing pretty well up to that point. It was looking like he was going to beat Sebastian. He started qualified ahead, of course. But really, that Ferrari just didn't really have the pace today. The other thing, you know, strategy. I'm going to go back to Vettel with this one. People were applauding Ferrari having the right strategy. It's a tricky one. Bear in mind, they left Sebastian Vettel out on the soft tyre around a boiling hot track, 33 degrees air temperature. I think the track temperature was even higher than that, for about 40 laps. I think Ferrari got lucky on that one, you know, as we saw them really dropping down the pace, and were the divide between the drivers at the end not so massive, you know, I think we would have seen Vettel fall even further back, probably out of the points, but he came back in P7, so good for Seb, really happy for Seb. Hopefully that's a big confidence boost. I feel that's kind of what he needs. Sebastian and also Alex Albon, they need that confidence boost right now, and their teams aren't giving it to them. So yeah, let's just hope for more of the same from Seb. Hope he can get back up there, get into the top 5. I'd love him to get a podium before the end of the year. I have a feeling that's not going to happen, but we can all dream, can't we? The other thing I want to have a rant about is rain. And I say rain, and if anyone's not watched the race, you might be kind of shocked, thinking, hang on, it's boiling hot in Spain at the moment. It's 33 degrees. Why would there be rain? Well, Sky Sports seem to think otherwise, and Formula 1 seem to think otherwise. I said this back at Hungary, but I would not be surprised. Okay, if Sky or F1 literally just go and say, guys, look, viewing figures are a little bit down. Can you just go and say there's going to be rain by the end of the race, and then, we'll all be happy again and everyone will be excited for the race. We weren't falling for it today. Let's be honest, there was never going to be rain. I think Sebastian Vettel was the first one to be told over radio, rain by lap 50. I put it out there, I was like, right, look, there's no way there's going to be rain. In fairness, you know what? Mahavir Raghunathan is more likely to reach Formula 1 before we hit an exciting Spanish Grand Prix. And there's not going to be... We're not going to see rain on a day like this. There's no way. And yes, there was rain around the area. But I think I tweeted out saying, look, it's going to move out towards the east of the circuit. And that's exactly what happened. I think it stayed into the north. It was 5 kilometres away from the circuit. It was miles away. And yet they're like, oh, there's going to be rain. It's going to be rain. Guys, stay tuned. It's going to be really exciting into the race. No, it isn't. Come on, guys. Just come on. If you can't tell, I'm in a great mood today. I've run out of alcohol halfway through the race, so I'm struggling. I had to put up with the last 30 laps completely sober. So come on. I don't know. I just don't know. Like, the thing with Spain is it's the track that the cars test on as well. And what that means is the teams have got so much data. They know what they're going to do strategy-wise. They've run so many simulations on how the race is going to go. They have so much information, not just off the practice sessions, but the 4 or 8. Is it 1 week or 2 weeks? 2 weeks. I think they get testing at the start of the year. It was so long ago, I've forgotten now. But they've got so much data that strategy is going to be very, very standard, going to be very boring. We saw a lot of 1 stops today, the odd 2 stop, but really that was just to kind of be safe or kind of get to the fastest lap. So, if you ask me, if you want to make Spain interesting, there's 2 things you can do. The first thing, which I don't know whether it would work, but get rid of Spain being the track they go at winter testing. Go to somewhere else like Jerez. They used to go to Jerez, which worked really well. Or do vice versa. Get rid of Spain on the calendar, replace it with someone like Portimao. We're seeing that this year. Is going to be brilliant. It is a fantastic track. I tell you what, if you haven't gone and seen a hot lap of that circuit, go and check it out. And I'm probably going to do a video on it at some point, because that race is something else, and it's going to be brilliant. I kid you not, that track is incredible. I'm surprised it hasn't hosted the Formula 1 Grand Prix before, at least in recent history. I don't think it has. I'm pretty certain it hasn't. But either you replace the testing circuit, or you replace the circuit with the current calendar, or you make some massive changes to the layout. I think that last chicane, it was added in like 2007, somewhere like that. It doesn't really work. That last chicane, I think it's meant to get more overtaking, but that just doesn't work. It really doesn't. No one's going to overtake it. The track's so tight around there. Maybe kind of keep what happened to the old layout, where it was just that long sweeping right-hander. Bring that back, and then just find some other way to change the layout. I don't know how they do that, but that second back straight, I don't know, could you try and change that? Maybe not, since that's probably an overtaking opportunity, but find a way to change the layout, because something needs to change there, because that track you cannot overtake at the moment, and what's the point of having racing if you can't get past another car? Let's be honest. But yeah, those were my thoughts on the Spanish Grand Prix. A little bit of a rant, I'm sorry on that one. If you want to see my live reactions to the Grand Prix, I'll leave a link to my Twitter down below. You can have a look through the Twitter feed there. I was not particularly happy boy throughout the race. I was just moaning. So if you want to laugh, go and check that out. A couple of weeks time we'll go to Belgium. Be a much better circuit. Cannot wait for that one. Maybe a track where someone like Red Bull could do well, though the long back straight could help that Mercedes engine. We'll have to really wait and see on that one. But yeah, really excited for a couple of weeks time. Stay tuned to the channel as well, because the Post Podium podcast will be coming out with F1 Dorney in a couple of days' time, so stay tuned there. But yeah, let me know down in the comments below what you thought of the Spanish Grand Prix. Did you hate it as much as I did, or do you think it was actually alright? I mean, for me, there hasn't been an exciting Spanish Grand Prix since 2012, if you want to include Pastor's one. Before that, probably go back to 2003, 17 years ago. And that 2003 was what, Schumacher, Alonso? So, yeah, something needs to change here, but that's just my thought. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. But until then, or until the Post Podium podcast anyway, I will see you guys later.